Hi everybody, I'm Mike Galloway and I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, what's considered by most to be the birthplace of monster trucks. I'm referring to Midwest four-wheel drive, the home and the headquarters for the king of the monster truck, Bigfoot. Over the past couple of years, I've had the chance to see all sorts of exciting monster truck competition. From the exciting and grueling mud bog competition to hill climbing, the competitive car crushing, and now the most exciting event of all, monster truck racing. For the next hour for you and the next 48 hours for me, we're going to get a unique glimpse of the behind-the-scenes action as we go on the road with the king and his crew. We're going to go on the road with Bigfoot. But before we go, let's meet the creator of monster trucks and Bigfoot, Bob Chandler. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Mike.
Crew all ready to go?
Crew's ready. The truck is ready. They'll be leaving in a few hours. It's going to be a good weekend.
Well, while the crew finishes the last-minute details before we get on the road, let's take a look at how and when this all began. Back in 1974, Bob Chandler of St. Louis, Missouri, commandeered the family pickup truck and began using it to promote a new business venture, a company called Midwest Four-Wheel Drive and Performance Center. For a little added publicity, Bob and his wife Marilyn began traveling throughout Missouri and Illinois, attending different off-road events. They didn't make any money, but they had a lot of people starting to take notice. Eventually, promoters from around the country began booking Bob Chandler's Bigfoot as a side attraction to help fill the seats for other events. No car crushing or aerial maneuvers back then, just a little fancy footwork. That's how it began. One truck, one driver, Bob Chandler and his dream. That was then. This is now Bigfoot, the main event. More than 14 years have passed since that first truck, and according to Bigfoot's chief design engineer, Bob Pal Freeman, you can never go back.
There's no way a truck we had 8 years ago could do what they're doing today. Because of just the nature of the things he's doing requires a whole lot more strength and durability and reliability than what he was doing from just driving on the street truck, doing an exhibition show, to the competition events we're into nowadays. They're entirely different. I think this is going to become something as popular as any type of NASCAR event or drag race event. We're just now starting to see what these monster trucks can do and what they will do.
These trucks can take this incredible amount of abuse because they're custom built from the ground up. How does one go about building a monster truck? Let's go to the action. Hi, Gene, we ready to go?
Sure, ready to go.
I'm riding shotgun. We're finally on our way. Heading out with Bigfoot, the crew to TNT's Monster Truck Challenge at the Coliseum in Roanoke, Virginia. This is the first event of this size in Roanoke, so the crowd should be ready. And from what we've heard about the Coliseum and the competition, it's going to be one very tough race. Jim, when you look at a monster truck, probably the most distinguishing thing about the vehicle, it says I'm a monster truck, has got to be the giant tires. Where do these tires come from?
These tires are originally developed for commercial liquid fertilizer spreading machinery used in the Midwest and some of the western states and the very large farms. Each tire can carry over about 10,000 pounds. A monster truck only weighs 15,000, so one tire can almost support the weight of the whole truck.
How long will a set of these tires last in competition?
In competition or just general use, I have gotten as much as 2 years out of a set of tires, knock on wood, and I've also got as little as a month out of a brand new set. It really depends on how you hit the cars. If you land on the cars wrong, you're going to come in contact with the windshield post, antennas, and a few other things that can really take one of these tires and cut it wide open and ruin it.
You may be wondering about the colorful vehicle transporting Bigfoot and the crew. Well, it's a big responsibility to be a Bigfoot crew member while on the road. You see, you can't drive a monster truck down the highway. They're not exactly considered street legal transportation.
How you doing, Stephen?
So in order to get Bigfoot from one place to the other and do it in a safe, clean, and convenient manner, the crew also drives and must care for a Ford custom-made LTL 9000, built and outfitted specially to haul Bigfoot. The 48-foot trailer not only accommodates the crew with sleeping quarters, kitchen, and bath, it also keeps Bigfoot safe and ready to roar when they reach their final destination. We've been on the road for a little while and decided it was time to top off the tank, check over the rig, stretch our legs, and take a little break. Hey guys, it's only 3. Let's go have some coffee.
Let's go park the truck in the back and we'll get a table. I'll see you guys inside.
Okay.
You buying?
I guess.
All right.
You guys need anything else?
I think this will do it.
Thank you.
Jim, you've got a family at home and youngsters in school, and what do they think about Daddy driving Bigfoot?
I got a boy, he's 3, and he's brainwashed. He loves the truck. He has to go to bed with one and has to wear the Bigfoot t-shirt most all the time. My daughter, she's 7 and started school, and first few days of school, they just didn't believe her. Because one of the first things they had to do in school was stand up and tell her about your family. What your daddy did, what your mom, does for a hobby. And she stood up and says, well, my daddy drives Bigfoot. And everybody went, boo-hoo, I don't believe you. And so they had a parade one day, a little town parade, and they actually get 2 schools together and parade down Main Street, very small town I live in, 2,400 people. And I brought the Bigfoot Shuttle up there and just fell in behind the fire department in the parade and surprised everybody.
Daddy did drive Bigfoot.
He drove the Bigfoot Shuttle that day. They all know that anyway.
How many miles do you travel a year?
Probably each rig probably averages about 80,000 miles a year.
And how many shows? How many shows do you and Gene do?
Gene and I will probably do, say, 45, maybe to 50 shows. Some he'll do on his own, and others we'll do together, some of the bigger events.
I guess it's my turn to buy coffee. Let's get on the road and try some more. Before we left St. Louis, I had an opportunity to talk with Jim and Bob Chandler about their favorite kind of Bigfoot action. And not surprisingly, they all had their favorite event. Jim Kramer, for example, enjoys it down and dirty in the mud.
I pull up to that line, what goes through my mind is hopefully I've got my engine tuned just as crisp as it can be, developing the most horsepower it can. Did I pick the right spot in that 40-foot area? The launch run, launch is all important in a mud run. Did I pick the bottom of the terrain in the pit? Did I pick the right spot to go through? Is the left front tire going to grab and throw me completely over to the right, almost out of the pit and be disqualified? A lot of those things are running through your mind. Perfect mud pit is one that you can hopefully make it through with and use all your truck. You know what I mean? Make it, but use every ounce of power and every ounce of driving technique you have. I call that a perfect pit.
It took me, I guess, four years before I finally made it over the gravel-rama hill. It's a 270-foot high, 70-degree angle pea gravel hill. And at first they wouldn't even let me on it because the truck was too big. It'd tear the hill up, is what they said. And finally, after their events were over, it'd usually be 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they'd finally let me attempt the hill. I have one truck that I use for hill climbing. It's Bigfoot 1, the original one. And we've got a great big motor in there, 640 cubic inch Allen root motor. And it produces a lot of wheel speed, and that's what it takes to kind of keep the tires spinning. There's just all the way up the hill to get over it. I guess it was about 2 years ago I finally got a chance to do it in the daytime, and we went, after third try, we went clean over the top of it, and it was neat. It's a good feeling. We had 2 cars out in a farmer's field. They let us park it there and try, and drove over the cars twice and videotaped it. We used a videotape in our shop as a promo. You know, people come into the shop to see the videotape. It took us 6 months after I crushed the first set of cars before we do it in front of a crowd. A promoter asked me to do a car crush in front of the crowd, and Merrill and I talked about it, and he says, no, it's destructive, and it would really hurt the image that we've got. And he finally talked me into doing it, and the crowd went nuts. And all ages, kids to grandmothers, they really liked it, what we did, so we've been doing it ever since. Things are completely different now. You know, when we first started this car crushing, it was you drove out onto the track and you crawl over the cars, and that was a big thing. Then it slowly progressed where you finally, we did a wheel stand over the cars. Now, Jim Kramer, Rich Hooser, they're racing and they're jumping cars. They hit the first one and clear 7 of them.
Well, we finally made it to our destination, Roanoke, Virginia. Took just over 13 hours and 620 miles. You know, in just a few hours, thousands of people who have paid to get a glimpse of this star will be inside. Every successful athlete, movie star, or celebrity has their group of dedicated fans. Well, Bigfoot is no exception, and it's captured in the hearts of people from every walk of life and from all over the world. Seems like no matter where Bigfoot vehicles go or what they do, the fans go wild. Why do people shower such affection, attention, and undivided loyalty on this truck? Well, it might be because at a time when red-blooded heroes were getting a little scarce, Bigfoot was developing into a great American success story. And over the years, like any good star, the Bigfoot owners, Bob and Marilyn Chandler, and their crews haven't forgotten their roots. The how and why of Bigfoot's phenomenal success, the Bigfoot fan. And that's why for more than a decade, with a fan club of 15,000 members and still growing, much of Bigfoot's time in the spotlight has been devoted to making personal appearances, donating time to charity, and just plain working hard to make people happy.
As far as the Bigfoot fans, I love them. They come out here to see us win, and that puts another burden on top of my shoulders. If I'm crewing for my driver, I want the driver to be only thinking about the race. I want that truck in tip-top shape. If it means, you know, laying on the ground or in a puddle of oil for 25 minutes trying to fix a line or something, just so he can go back in and race again.
The Bigfoot trucks have appeared in all 50 states, Canada, and Puerto Rico. They've performed without prejudice in front of stadium crowds as large as 75,000, or hospitals and children's homes for just one or two. Just about every spare minute in Bigfoot's schedule is devoted to its fans. And all the excitement generated by fan loyalty didn't go unnoticed by the media. The truck has, without a doubt, generated more media coverage than any single vehicle ever built. Over the years, Bigfoot has appeared in countless magazines and newspapers. The story of Bigfoot has been distributed throughout the world. As a matter of fact, the monstrous success of Bigfoot has made a monstrously big business, and that requires special attention from the other owner of Bigfoot, Marilyn Chandler.
I think every year we felt like, you know, this is really great. Here we get to travel, and we're doing what we like, and we've met a lot of great people, and we kept telling ourselves that this is, you know, we have to do as much as we can this year, go to this trip and go on this thing. We just did everything we possibly could because we always thought it was just going to be a flash in the pan. We thought we would do this and then it would fade out. But every year it kept getting bigger and bigger. We have several employees who just work on the books for Bigfoot, and that's all they do. Not only do you have to get a contract in the first place, you have to figure out the logistics of traveling across the country, how many miles, you know, how many people you have to send out, what type of product you should send for the show, and you have to keep track of all this. And then just the paperwork, and there's a lot of government paperwork that has to be done in any kind of a business. And keeping track of all the employees. We have about 50 employees, so keeping track of the employees and the time that they're out on the road and trying to make sure that everybody has some time off, and yet keeping up all the qualities of our shows because the guys are on the road a lot and they really work hard. And we want to make sure that our shows are always, you know, top quality. So all that's really difficult to keep track of.
But beyond its commercial value, Bigfoot's status as a silent spokesperson and American hero is constantly being applied by Bob and Marilyn Chandler towards trying to help people and make them feel good. From sharing Bigfoot magic with the patients in hospitals to showing kids that drugs aren't the answer, Bigfoot is larger-than-life proof that dreams can come true. You know, the mania of this monster truck has been growing since the truck made its movie debut back in 1979. The list of movie and television credits made by Bigfoot over the years would make any star envious. From the unforgettable cameo appearance in Take This Job and Shove It, guest appearance in Police Academy 2. That's incredible.
On its road to victory, Bigfoot has left behind an incredible path of destruction.
Here's another look at Bigfoot's bruising dash to the finish. Bigfoot has proved once again it's truly the most incredible monster truck.
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
For the crowd, Bigfoot is the ultimate fantasy, a force no traffic jam could ever resist. The tires are 10 feet tall. A 1,000 horsepower engine roars under the hood, and the entire rig weighs 7 tons.
And Cannonball Run 2. The list goes on and on. These days, real superstardom only comes once you've made it in music videos for MTV.
To be exact, this is not fiction, this is all fact. The man in the back is dressed in black. He's gone where we go.
While the crew prepares Bigfoot for tonight's monster truck battle, let's take a look at some of the types and highlights of monster truck competition with Bigfoot.
The monster truck competition, as far as the circuit we're racing right now, it depends a lot on the crew member and the driver. It's like any other type of racing. There's always somebody behind the scenes. The people behind the scenes here are in the shop, and they put a lot on my shoulders when I'm out on the road to keep the truck into the race.
You got to know this story. Each one of these guys has the ultimate respect for the other one, but neither one will give an inch. Side by side qualifying, here we go.
A straight course, what we refer to as a bonsai course, the truck is more responsible than the driver is. The driver, all he has to do is hold it straight, whereas if you have turns involved, it becomes a 50-50 street that way. and the driver is more apt to make a mistake and lose the race that way. So it depends a lot on what type of course you're going to race.
There's definitely an element there. You no longer have you in the truck and say the mud pit. You have you, the truck, the obstacles, and the other fella in his truck with his obstacles. That's a whole nother area to contend with. You've got to try to say leave the line and run the best race you can without getting any intimidation from him and having that affect you. There's a whole lot of psych that goes on in these monster truck racing. You don't think so, but it's much like staging up for a drag race. He's watching you, you're watching him, you're seeing how you act, seeing who kind of extrudes confidence, who's a little bit leery. You know, you can tell it just by looking over at him. You can tell what kind of shape of frame of mind he's in, how he's going to run. Is it going to be hard, or is it going to be easy to beat? A lot of that you can see in a man's eyes.
Now, Jim Kramer's one of the quickest men on the throttle. When that green flag drops, you can bet he'll nail the motor. It's whichever motor comes to life. The Duraliner truck's a little heavier. It may not leave as quick as the Bigfoot truck. It's time for the drag race shootout. Bigfoot's out the lead, but here's the Duraliner giant. Bigfoot, they're side by side. They're side by side in the shootout. In the shootout, it's Bigfoot at the finish. It's Bigfoot at the finish. Well, Rick Hoosier has come around and parked on the line, going back at it immediately. He'll go back to back. He will come up against Barefoot. This ought to be quite a race. Fred, as you mentioned, in the far lane, the little bit of problem, and Fred has got to be going through his mind right now what happened on that pyramid of cars just a moment ago.
Oh, it definitely does. This could very well happen again. If Fred can lead the cars a little bit to the right, I think he's going to come off that pyramid a lot quicker.
There it is. Hoosier still after him. It's a close race. Hoosier trying to jump him. Barefoot's really out of the lead up over the hill. Now this is where he won it before. It's a tight race. It's tied up. They are just even. Barefoot will not let up neither one of them. Hoosier's going to go for it. Hoosier is going for it. Can he do it? Can he do it? Oh my heaven. That was a very, very close race. An action-packed race. It's a photo finish. We're going to look at it. This is the last set of cars, and here is the finish, high in the air. Barefoot is leading it right there, but I believe that Rick passes him right here. The landing is so critical.
Bigfoot actually passed him in the air. Fred was on the cars first, but he had lost his forward momentum. He didn't charge the cars fast enough. On the other hand, Rick had so much speed going when he hit the cars, his speed never stopped. His momentum carried him ahead of Fred while they were flying in the air over the cars. Great run.
A very good run, and they have declared Bigfoot the winner. It was a photo finish, and Rick Hoosier has been declared the winner of that heat. What a race. It could be an upset tonight. The Skull Bandit truck has really been doing a great job. They've changed the motor in the truck just recently. And for many, many years ran a V12 Jaguar. They've converted over to a 454 cubic inch big block Chevrolet. The truck's light, it's quick, it's agile. He could beat Bigfoot tonight. Look out, look out, here we go. Bigfoot is just flying, but the Bandit right there beside him. It's gonna be a finish, photo finish. Bigfoot takes it. That was probably as tough a race as Bigfoot has been in quite some time. The Skull Bandit truck out of California was really on him all the way through, and he tortured that Bigfoot truck.
Here it is, the People's Choice. This is Bigfoot. Andy Brass behind the wheel tonight. You know the details. It's an 88 Ford, 429 under the hood. And we have really an expert witness here tonight with us, Mike, for some expert commentary. Rick Hoosier, who drives Bigfoot on occasion. Today he's with us up here in the broadcast booth. Hi, Rick.
Lines up and goes for it right now.
Whoa, man!
Rich, what happened when you line up for the cars? What's going through your mind?
Well, the main thing, Mike, is to make sure you get lined up straight on the cars, especially in a smaller arena like this. You want to make sure you hit them straight so you can land straight. And when you do that, you make a lot better show, and you can get up in the air a little bit higher, and it really looks good. Andy's doing an excellent job so far.
when it lands, the compression, the jolt that the body takes. Is it as violent on the inside as it looks like?
Yes, it is. We wear all sorts of safety equipment from kidney belts to neck braces, our helmets. Even when we hang out the window like a couple of us do, we have to wear a little eye protection in case some of the pieces of the cars come flying up. Now when Andy's here, he's come back the other way where the other guys haven't come on, so he should be able to get good air on this shot right here.
Now, good air meaning that the cars are straight up and down, and when it hits it, it's going to put the truck right up in the air.
Right. When you come out second, third, even fourth after a couple other monster trucks, they're pretty well flattened out, and you need to hit them a little bit harder to get that truck up in the air.
Let's see what happens.
Whoa! Andy Brass with a superb run in Bigfoot.
How long's Andy been driving a truck?
Andy started last summer, and he's a natural. He just come into it, and he seems to be doing real good. He's not afraid of the truck. He just gets out there and does a good job at it.
Should you be afraid of the truck or just respect what the truck can do?
Respectful of the truck because they're put together real well. Roy Hooser, my brother, and Bob Freeman are the two that build these trucks and keep them maintenance. And of course, in that shot right there, you can see how well they can hold together.
One of the main reasons competition and exhibition events like this are possible is the total attention to safety, both for the drivers and the spectators. Let's take a quick look at some of the ways that the Monster Truck Racing Association, MTRA, is making sure that Bigfoot and other monster trucks remain perfectly safe. Bigfoot driver Jim Kramer explains.
Let's start out with the front of the truck. Here we have a steel split rim wheel. The safety lock ring is mounted to the inside, and we do that because in case of a rim failure or a tire failure, and the safety ring would become dislodged, it would move to the middle of the truck, or toward the middle of the truck, and be detained. Up here we have engine shields. Now what they do in case of an internal engine failure, any parts coming off of the engine should hit the shield and be deflected down or up, in which case the hood would catch the parts. Above here we have blower restraint straps and also aluminum blower studs. These two devices will let the blower lift about 3/4 of an inch in case there's an explosion in the blower or too much pressure. Relieve the pressure and let it come back down and rest without dislodging any fuel lines and have raw fuel on your engine. Let's go back here to the chassis area. In the chassis area, we have a 360-degree flywheel shield, and right back from that we use a full transmission blanket. These parts can be seen much better on a truck which is under construction. Down from the transmission into the driveline area, we have dry shaft loops on the front of the dry shaft and also the back. In case the dry shaft would break in either one of those areas, both parts would be contained and allowed to rotate in a very confined area and not just be allowed to rotate in a large area and maybe hit something on the truck and have it fly off. Now, all of our U-joints have a 360-degree shield on them. Any kind of retaining ring or a bearing cap, if it was to come loose for some reason, it would be contained by that shield. Let's move on to the back of the truck. In the rear of the truck, we have a backup alarm mounted underneath. This alarm is activated anytime the truck is put into reverse. It has 112 decibels and clearly can be heard above the roar of the engine. Right here we have a safety shutdown switch. This is put on the truck in case a problem arises. Someone besides the driver can shut this truck down. Now let's look at some of the safety features inside the cab. All right, once inside the truck, we start out with a seat, bucket seat, foam padded. Also has another feature, is this air bladder. And once you put on your seat belt, we use a 3-inch lap belt with a mechanical locking device on it. Once you put it on and get it securely tightened, you'll take this air bladder control and pump it up. Now what this will do is apply air pressure right here in your back. This will firmly plant you in the seat and really support your body. Right inside the cab here we have a full roll bar mounted directly to the frame. It is cross braced and diagonally braced in the back. It's 125 thousandths thick, and we try to keep the structural members as straight as possible to support the weight. It is padded. Wherever we feel the driver might come in contact with the bar, we have the padding on it. And of course, with your helmet and your padding, it'll keep you from getting a headache. The reason we go to such extremes in strengthening the cab and driver area is because of situations like these. I came out of this otherwise dangerous incident totally unharmed. On the dashboard right here, we have our kill switch. We told you about the kill switch on the back of the truck earlier. They're both tied in the same way. If you hit that kill switch, every piece of electrical equipment on your truck is dead. You have just stopped everything, no fuel pumps, no ignition anywhere. It really helps in the case of a fire. Along with our kill switch, here on the dash we use, and just introduced, is a remote kill switch for the truck. Now what this will do is one of our crewmen can be on the sidelines, I can be out actually driving the truck. If I get in a precarious situation where he thinks it might hurt someone or damage some property, he can push this button and kill my truck. If I am incapacitated in any way, the truck can be stopped from the sidelines. Some of the features for the driver would be, first of all, is your kidney belt. This does two things: support your kidneys when you're bouncing around the truck, and also really support your lower back. Keeps your whole midsection tightened up. Here we have a cervical collar. It goes around your neck, and what it does is helps you support the weight of your helmet. Your neck has muscles in the back. It can take quite a jolt forward, but not very many neck or muscles right here in the forward part of your body to keep your head from getting whiplashed. And with the amount of slamming and knocking around a driver must take in a competitive situation, these belts and supports are critically necessary. Also with the helmet, which is Snell 75 approved, we have goggles in case the driver has a style where he drives outside of the cab. It keeps any debris from getting in his eyes and causing a vision problem. Along with that, we have a full flame-resistant suit, including boots, jumpsuit, and gloves. With all this equipment on, we feel that a better protected driver would be a safer driver. All of these safety features which I have pointed out to you are required by the Monster Truck Racing Association. They are put on to help protect the driver, track personnel, and all spectators in the stands. I've driven for a long time. Any time in that seat is time that you are gaining experience. If the truck gets in a precarious situation and you get out of it, you subconsciously, you remember what you did. It's kind of a survival instinct. You know if it goes up on two wheels, you got to make a fast correction, maybe get on the gas, flick the steering wheel, get yourself back down. Then also, a lot of it might be second nature, become second nature, but then again, we use the video as a tool. And we will take a situation where I might get in a bad shape, come back and show the driver, show them how to do it. Try to implant this in their head. If they get in this position, make this correction. I've probably learned the hard way. I've been on my side. I've been on my top. I've learned the hard way. These monster trucks, it gets real expensive to learn the hard way these days.
Well, cars are set and tracks ready. Let's go take a look at it. What are you going to do?
Well, Mike, the way the course is set up, it's short and quick like we talked about earlier. It could be maybe a one-gear track or two-gear track. I've really not made up my mind yet. I need to see what some of these other trucks do.
Right here, top of the hill, will you be wide open on the truck?
Be wide open when I start.
When you start?
Be wide open when I finish. It's that kind of a track.
What do the rules say concerning landing on the cars? What if you miss?
Well, ideally, you have to hit the first car. We have what we call a 2-and-2 rule. Your two front tires have to impact the first car. If you land on the stack and bounce off, as long as at least two of your tires stay on the stack, you can actually drive down the side of the stack toward the finish line and win. So that's why it's called 2 and 2. Your 2 front tires have to hit the lead car, and if you cleared them, that's legal too. You can clear all the cars and land with 4 tires on the other side.
Jim, this finish line area still worries me. It still seems real short.
Actually, this is a good finish. You have 2 cars to hit and help slow you down. You hit these 2 cars, they'll kind of break your speed and start getting on the brakes and hope you stop before the wall. Now, if you don't, at least you have a tunnel that you can duck over and go toward the tunnel.
Will you go to the tunnel?
If I have to, definitely. I don't want to impact that wall. The wall always wins.
Well, as you can tell from the crowd response that it's time for Bigfoot. Jim Kramer, considered one of the top monster truck racers in America. He has drawn the number 3 qualifying spot. Bigfoot into the box and gets ready to go to work. Supercharged 460 cubic inch Ford motor. Triple Predator carburetors. Kramer on go. Let's see how he attacks the track. Short shot on the hole. Watching on the front. Flying over all of them. Cleared the line. Airborne and cleared the line. High in the sky, and he wiped him. We'll wait on the time. It could be one of the toughest to beat. Bigfoot has the quick time of the night with a 4.9 on foot. So that is quick time. Of course, quick time gives you an advantage. The Gravedigger, its rear engine. Top of it. Earth-shattering, ground-pounding pass. Well, the qualifying rounds have been set with the fastest time tonight going to Bigfoot, and he will run the slowest time, which was Lethal Weapon. Then it'll be Rambo versus the Barbarian. King Crunch will run Stomper. Just Showing Off will run Ever Jasmer's USA 1. Quick time, second quick time of the night goes to the Gravedigger, and he will run Playing for Keeps. So that's the stage as they'll come in and run side by side for an eliminator bracket. Well, the crowd gets into it as first round begins, and Jim Kramer, setting fast time of the night and having lane choice, goes to the odd side of the track. He'll run the Lethal Weapon truck. The times are important. But right now, the winning is the most important thing of all. As they sit on the line, and we'll listen as the motors come alive. It's a one-shot program. Flips out the lead. Kramer flying him on his nose. Makes it out. It's a Bigfoot win. As the Weapon gets in a little bit of trouble. Comes off the right-hand side of the car. So Foot will go outside and qualify for another round. Second round coming up. Well, Jim Kramer qualified with a 472, came back on the second pass with a 456. So you can tell that that side of the track is getting a little bit faster. The even side of the track is showing some signs of fatigue as it's pulling the drivers off to the right side on their passes. So far in the second round of racing, quick time is owned by Crunch. Look at that. Talk about Crunch. They have smashed them to nothing. Playing for Keeps his stage. He's running the big blown motor of the Gravedigger. Who's it gonna be? Well, it's Gravedigger as he covers them. And I mean, he covers it all. The Gravedigger, and we're running out of cars. Now, it'll just be a short period of time between this round and the winner of this round advancing on to the semifinal. Jim Miller versus Jim Kramer in a pair of Ford trucks. Both of them staged very carefully. Watch for the light to go green. Clock starts then. Who's it gonna be? It's the whole shot. It made all the difference. a little bit of a rough landing for Jim Kramer. Semi-final round, the quarterfinal. This winner of this will go into the finals, and it's Bigfoot versus Rambo. The Ford has quick time of the night so far, and that is a 4.36. He did it on his last run at a 4.36. Rambo stayed. Bigfoot is staged. One of these will go home. Christmas tree light in hand. Watch them as they go. Who's it gonna be? What leads on him? Kramer leaves on him. Look at that. Shuts it down at the wall. Shuts it down at the wall. You don't get much closer than that. As Bigfoot, Jim Kramer, goes into the finals. They've broken the truck. Well, Bigfoot on a class pass when it came off the cars had to get on the grinders real bad, really running right up to the wall. It looks like that there has been a problem in the hydraulics on the rear steering, possibly a ruptured line. You can see one of the pitmen over on the inside making some kind of adjustment. Now he's got a few more minutes before he's called the final round. He will run if he can get repaired against the gravedigger. A very trying situation. He's had quick time of the night. If they're gonna make it into the final round, they've got to do it in a hurry. We talked earlier about the ruptured steering line on the Bigfoot truck. The line is a steel line hydraulic hose, but it's actually been cut. When the truck got on the brakes, the rear end rolled over and spliced the line completely open, losing hydraulic fluid and wiping out the rear steering. They have gone to the pit area, they're going to repair it, and they'll be back in just a moment. Bigfoot has qualified and also ran a quick time of a 4:36 and then a 4:39. The digger has ran consistent 4:49s all night long. Bigfoot in a familiar lane. Gravedigger in a lane that he has not been in all night long. The two fastest trucks on the premises go head-to-head for the championship here in Roanoke, Virginia. Jim Kramer running 460 cubic inches. He calls that his little motor. It's the foot! The foot pulls it out! Bigfoot pulls it out at the end! He did it in the air! What a finish for what a race! Bigfoot on top all the way! What a final! It was neck and neck and he passed him right at the line! Bigfoot takes one home! Looks like that when Jim Kramer landed, the right front tire came back around real hard. So it could be another problem for Bigfoot, but at this time of the night, it makes no difference. It's all Overville. He does it in a 4:33. That's the quickest anyone has ran the course all night long. It's Bigfoot in the winner's circle tonight. The crowd cheering the king of the monster trucks, Bigfoot. From very humble beginnings as a hobby of one man to world-sweeping phenomena as it is today, shaping the face of one of the newest competitive sports in automotive racing, Bigfoot, king of the monster truck, will have a unique and unforgettable place in legend and history. Bigfoot, part Hollywood star, the unflinching hero, meeting all challenges head-on, and part American dream, trying your hardest to win and succeeding against all odds. Bigfoot, king of the monster truck, makes the kind of statement that most Americans want to hear. And according to Bob Chandler, the countless hours and days spent making Bigfoot a reality really were worth it.
It's so neat to get out there in front of the crowd and see their reactions, see the kids' reactions mainly. That's what really turns me on. We work here a lot of hours. We work through the night quite often. We turn around and look at each other and say, what are we doing this for? And you get out and do a show, and the kids come up to the truck before and after the show, and it's like an idol to them, and that makes it worthwhile.
Is that the Bigfoot camera?
Yeah.
Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that working on my pickup in my garage at home could lead to this. It's like anything else in life. Once you start, it's pretty hard to stop. What you see here is a result of 14 years of hard work by a lot of people. About 1978 when I first hit the road with Bigfoot. There wasn't any other big trucks on the road, so Bigfoot made quite an impression. Most people didn't know what to think about it, but they knew they liked it.
I'm Don Brightweiser, driver of Bigfoot 2. Let's take a look at earlier years of Bigfoot in action.
Those were exciting times, trying out new ideas for bigger and better trucks. There were only a few of us back then. Nowadays, there's hundreds of trucks and drivers, all out trying to make a name for themselves by setting new records, trying new stunts. The competition is getting pretty fierce. We've had to build all these trucks just to keep up with the different monster truck events. So with so many Bigfoot trucks, 10 right now, it gets hectic around here. And I need some time to get away and relax.
Hi, I'm Ken Kelly, driver of Bigfoot 1. Bigfoot 1 has the largest engine of all Bigfoot trucks. We use this truck for mud running and hill climbing. Back in 1987 at Gravelrama, I topped a hill to join Bob Chandler in the Over the Hill gang. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Jim Kramer, Senior Vice President of Bigfoot 4x4 and driver of Bigfoot 7. Even with the excitement of hill climbing and mud bogging, I think we're just starting to see the tip of the iceberg when it comes to monster truck racing. And there's a whole new generation of truck and driver out there on the courses these days. Things are really shaping up for the battles of the future, with more consistent courses, lighter and faster vehicles, and newer and better techniques for getting the best out of a monster truck and taking that to the finish line.
monster trucks and monster truck racing. A good thing that's only going to get better and faster. With all the new events and drivers and trucks on the circuit today, you can bet Bigfoot and the entire crew will be dishing out excitement and plenty of monster truck action for years to come. So keep an eye out. Who knows what will be coming down the road next?
In the beginning, there was darkness. Then, out of the void came fire, smoke, metal. On the forge of imagination, an incredible thing began to take shape. A creature of raw, unbridled power. A creature with no equal. The very first of its kind. A thing so awesome, it could only be called a monster. In the beginning, there was Bigfoot, the first monster truck to stalk the earth. No town was too small, no city too large. Bigfoot roamed the land in search of action, excitement, and conquest. Today, monsters are everywhere. Monsters are real. But when the dust settles and the smoke clears, a cry is still heard across the land. Bigfoot, king of the monster trucks.
Over the past few years, we've all been witness to a rare occurrence, the birth and then the thriving success of a new form of motorsports entertainment, monster truck competition. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee in the cab of what we could argue to be the most recognizable and certainly the largest monster truck in the world, Bigfoot. Now this beauty is Bigfoot number 5. It's the largest of the Bigfoot family of monster trucks. It is on display outside the birthplace and the developmental center on the cutting edge of monster truck design, performance, and manufacture. We're at the Midwest Four-Wheel Drive and Performance Center in St. Louis, owned and operated by Bob and Marilyn Chandler. Now, I've always had this secret desire to drive Bigfoot, but they take no chances here in St. Louis. There's no key in the ignition. For the next hour, we'll take an exciting look at the king of the monster trucks. We'll see how these trucks are designed, manufactured, modified, and maneuvered. Maybe they could teach me how to drive Bigfoot. We'll talk to the men and women that keep these trucks in the forefront of this phenomenon that's sweeping the nation. Now, as I mentioned before, this is Bigfoot number 5. There are 10 Bigfoot vehicles, all designed and constructed for ultimate performance in a specific event. Now, before we get started, and to give me a chance to figure out how to get down from here, let's take a look at the champions in the Bigfoot stable. After all, it takes some kind of program to put the faces with the names. We're now in the shop area of Bigfoot 4x4 with Bob Chandler, the owner and creator of Bigfoot. Bob, I think the popularity of monster trucks right now coincides with the general popularity of four-wheel drive vehicles, particularly the pickup trucks. And everyone watching us right now with a four-wheel vehicle would love to do what you do with Bigfoot. But let's talk about, if you will, the general differences between, say, a stock Ford pickup truck and the monster truck.
Okay, well, what we started out with years ago was Bigfoot 1, 2, and 3. That was our first series of trucks. And they were basically a stock Ford frame, basically a stock body. We used a 460 engine with a supercharger on it. We used a C6 automatic transmission that we beefed up a little bit. We have progressed to this truck here, which is Bigfoot 4, and we've put a straight rail frame, which is much stronger. We've tried to lighten the body up, lighten the components up. We've got a bigger engine in it, better suspension, and it's progressing every year.
Can you give us a tour? You be the tour guide and walk us around this monster truck.
Okay, this is one of our first racing trucks, let's say. And what we started out here was with a different type of frame. It's a straight rail frame, it's a stronger. This truck has more air time. It's up in the air more than the other vehicles. So what we've done is added a longer spring to it, so we have more travel out of it, which involves longer shocks. The more suspension travel you have, the better the truck will handle. We started out with a basic 5-ton military housing, and what we've put on it is a planetary. This is a gear ratio right here at the tire. It relieves all the components behind that, so instead of breaking axles, it'll break parts in the locker, which it rarely does. Then we've gone to start out with a basic 460 engine again, but we've beefed this one up quite a bit. It's over 500 cubic inch. We've gone to a bigger BDS blower on it. We've got 3 Predator carburetors. The other ones only had 2. So this truck puts out a lot more horsepower, and it performs a lot better than the old trucks.
One question that I have been asked several times at these events, what does 4x4x4 mean?
Well, 4x4x4, a 4x4 rather, is a four-wheel drive truck. There's 4 tires on the ground, 4 tires supposedly pull. The extra 4 that we've added is four-wheel steering. Our truck does not only turn from the front, but it also turns in the rear, so it's a 4x4x4.
Now, was this a creation one night Bob Chandler can't go to sleep and the wheels are turning and this idea pops out?
No, I was at a Gravel-Rama years ago with my first truck, and a Rockwell engineer came up to me and he started telling me about the components, the Rockwell parts under this thing. And we sat underneath this truck for at least an hour and a half, and he was explaining to me how the military wanted these things built. The front and rear, they're basically the same sizes. What they wanted to do is if somebody broke one of their deuce-and-a-half trucks or 5-ton trucks, they could take a front component, the front axle out of one truck, and stick it in the rear, lock it straight, and go back down the road. And that kept bugging me all the way home from this Gravel-Rama show. And when I got home, I said, I got to try that, but I'm going to put steering on the rear. And it took us one day to try this out. And we went out on the street, and we were laughing so hard we had tears in our eyes because it's such a weird feeling to go sideways.
So the rear steering, the hydraulic steering, is something of your design. You didn't copy it from another vehicle.
No, that is something that we did ourselves. It's been changed probably 4 or 5 times from the beginning, but it is our design, yes.
Now, for all of us that have seen the drivers maneuver Bigfoot in person, we see the left arm outside the cab because the toggle switch for rear steering is just inside the window. But it wasn't always there, was it?
No, I used to have it on the floor. I had 2 buttons that I operated with my left foot. And at that time, I was still street driving the vehicle. Normally, I would lock the rear steering with a pin in the tie rod. Well, I didn't have it locked this time, and I'm going down the road about 40, 50 miles an hour, and my foot sat on that button. And all of a sudden, I was going sideways down the road. I run somebody off the road. Luckily, nobody was hurt. But from that point on, we went to the steering on the column.
Well, Bob, some of the modifications to Bigfoot are not visible. Take this sound here. That's not sheet metal. That's fiberglass.
Yeah, we started with some fiberglass components on Bigfoot 4. We've got a bed and a door right now. We've got some of the trucks have fiberglass hoods and front ends. We're working on a mold for the fiberglass cab right now. The fiberglass is not necessarily a weight-saving factor for us. It's more a durability factor. You take a metal body, when these big tires hit them, it buckles the whole body. You destroy the whole side of the bed or whatever. Fiberglass is a lot more durable.
You have been the innovator. Now, do you share your secrets? If someone is starting to build their own monster truck, do you have a set of plans they might acquire, or will you answer questions as to how something should be done?
I usually answer any questions they want to ask. I've talked to people all over the world, from Saudi Arabia to Australia to Japan to Germany to England, and a lot of people in the United States. I like the competitive edge. I like having a lot of other trucks around. It helps my business also, so I will share with anybody, yes.
But once you do something new, you can't put a tarp over it. You go out for the first competition, everybody sees it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We do a lot of new things. We try a lot of new things, innovations, and we try to hide them for a while we're proving them to see if they work. You know, we don't go out and test a vehicle on a track. We go out and test it on our own somewhere, and then it goes out in front of the public if it works. And then if it's good, it gets copied.
As I mentioned before, this monster is Bigfoot number 5, the largest monster truck in the world. But what I didn't mention was it will always be the largest monster truck for one simple reason. These tires, over 10 feet tall, they weigh over 1 ton apiece. They're unique and irreplaceable. And like everything else to do with Bigfoot, these tires have quite a history.
Well, currently on Bigfoot 5, we run tires that came from an Alaskan land train. Something that the U.S. Army had in late 1950s, I believe. I was doing a show in Seattle about 5 years ago, and I went to a military junkyard between 2 shows. And Ken Kelling, one of my drivers, saw these tires on a trailer, and he come over and got me out of a different part of this yard. And I couldn't believe that there was such a tire this way, you know, this big of a tire. We looked at them for quite a while, trying to figure out how we could use them, and we ended up going to the owner of the yard and to see what he'd want for the tires. And he told me $30,000. I says, no, thank you. The next year I was back there again doing a show, so I went back in and asked the guy how much he wanted for his tires. It was the same thing, $30,000, so I just kind of give up on him. The following year I had Jim Kramer go up and do the show in Seattle. So I was talking to him on the phone one of the days that he was up there, and I suggested he go in there and offer the guy $1,000 just to see what he'd say. He called me back in an hour and he says, the guy says, fine. So what happened, we ended up buying 4 tires. I don't know what changed this guy's mind in this last year, but we bought the 4 tires and ended up buying 4 more from him 6 months later for $700 apiece. So I think I've got the only 8 with wheels in the country. In the back of my mind, I did want to prove that I had the biggest truck. I've never tried to, with my trucks, I've never claimed to be the biggest or the tallest or the widest or anything else. But the first time we put these tires on the truck, it was really for some pictures, and we were going to take them off and never use them again. But we decided to put them on a truck for the 4-wheel and off-road jamboree one year, and it really worked out neat because there was at least 5 other monster trucks with signs in front of their vehicles, world's largest monster truck. And I just had to drive past these guys and look down on their vehicles. You know, it was all in fun. But the truck's been pretty popular. I really can't take the tires off. I leave them mounted all the time out in front of the shop when a truck's not being used.
Now, obviously, Bigfoot 5 is not transported with these huge tires on it. So what are the real hassles of changing the tires, and what equipment do you take with you to make that tire change?
We have a special trailer, first of all, a double drop deck transport trailer. And with that goes a forklift that we take with us. Everything on this truck is disassembled and assembled with the forklift. It takes a crew of 3 people, 3 hours. And all they really do is work with the forklift and process of changing the tires, and the forklift really has to do all the manual work. The only thing we can do is run the electric gun, put the lug nuts on. Everything has to be done with a machine because everything is so heavy.
BIGFOOT V, its main thing is to be on display at all times. We have busloads of school kids come in and they look at the truck, they go through the shop. It brings a lot of people in, brings a lot of truck drivers that are, they take their kids with them as they're going through St. Louis and they stop here. It's been good for our shop and it's been good for Bigfoot.
Now let's talk about that tire walk. Was this your brainchild or did somebody suggest this?
Oh, years back in Casper, Wyoming, I was doing a show with Bigfoot number 4, I believe, with 5-foot tires. And I was looking for something to kind of add to my stadium show, to kind of keep the crowd interested. And I started tire walking on the 5-foot tires, which is not a big problem. They're much smaller. And I was at the Seattle Kingdome, and I figured, no, if it works with the small truck, why don't it work with the big truck? I had another guy drive the truck and watch what I was doing. We practiced this before the show, of course. And you can do it, and I do it, but it's very difficult because the tire being 10 foot tall, you actually are kind of hung out in the wind there for a while before you come over and your gravity starts holding you to the tire as you come out. So you have to grab the tire with your arms and your legs and squeeze with all your might until you come over the breakover point, and gravity takes over and holds you to the tire and come up.
I must admit, the first time I saw it on videotape, I thought, well, that doesn't look that scary. Until I had actually gotten in the truck and realized how far up in the air I was. Then it became very scary.
It is the biggest problem we figure out is once I leave the truck to jump on the ground to come back up, I had to figure out a way I could physically leave the truck without getting in the way of the rotating tires, climb down along the chassis, get on the ground, then grab the tire and come back up. It's a long way. You don't just step out the door and jump, that's for sure.
Up until a few years ago, monster trucks were considered exhibition vehicles reserved for intermission-type events, but no longer. Monster truck racing is a highly competitive motorsport, and by the very nature of that motorsport, monster truck racing is unpredictable and always changing. long did it take you to get acclimated to like the hydraulic rear steering and to get acclimated to driving the truck in the race?
It takes a lot of time. You can master these things at a slow speed very easily. Anyone, I could take you, for instance, out in the field, and in 2 hours' time, I could have you turning circles and doing just about what you want at a relatively low speed. To be able to do this and keep a truck in control in a race situation is a whole different story. There's so much weight moving around at speed and everything, you just can't touch that rear steering and utilize it like you think you could. You have to be very careful when you use it because it couldn't effectively just kind of flip your truck over before you know it. So it takes a while, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of seat time. If you have to think about an action you're about to undertake in a truck, all right, then you don't belong in the truck. It has to become very second nature to you. It has to become just a seat-of-the-pants type situation. Sure, you're going to feel the steering in the front, but there's going to be little indicators that tell you what that back end's doing. I, for instance, use my 3 carburetors as kind of a weather vane. I know if my back end is to the right, my carburetors sit to the right. If I'm too far to the left, they sit to the left. I can almost just quickly glance at my carburation and tell whether my back end is straight or not.
You have made every monster truck highlight, video, and film. And not just for winning all the time, but you've had a couple of crashes where you've been upside down, on your nose, and it seems like those are always the ones we see. Let's go back to the one you had at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis where you put the truck first on the nose and then on over. Your thoughts? You had to have enough time to think about what was happening.
It happened real fast, but it's like anything else. People tell you when things happen, you know, it's their life flashed before them. I thought of a lot of things, and I was thinking, how did I get in this predicament? How do I get myself out? I couldn't get myself out because of a mechanical situation, so I had to think of the safety of the fans. Had not the truck rolled over, then I would have to have had jabbed on the brakes to make the truck roll over, so it would not have gotten as far as the seating area where the fans were. So that's the kind of thing that was going through your mind. After it was over, of course, and I was out and had time to reflect on it, you know, it's a lot of things do go through your mind. What could have happened? Because of the safety equipment that we use on the trucks, I came out okay.
How much of a jarring does the human body take in car crashes or in the races themselves? Despite the safety aspects of the truck, how much of the organs moving around inside the human body?
If it weren't for the safety equipment we use, it'd be a lot worse. But yes, everything gets jarred. The biggest problem, I think, is neck whiplash. You hitting these cars, some of them 40 to 50 miles an hour, there's such an impact at that point that it's very easy to get a neck whiplash, and we wear proper safety equipment, cervical collars and things like that to try to alleviate the problem.
Where do you see monster trucks headed?
As you know, like you stated, monster trucks started out at exhibitions, but now monster trucks have gained popularity in their own right. I think we're seeing now, last summer, I think we'll see this summer too, monster truck racing shows, period. You're talking about just monster trucks. They are enough of a draw, enough of an interest to people that they will support themselves. You're going to see a much better breed of monster truck out there running, and you're going to see a much better track, much more controlled, better guidelines, better track timing devices and things like that. It's going to get to be a heck of a lot better race situation with the monster trucks.
Just as any athlete or artist would have their own particular style, so it is with monster truck drivers. So we spent some time talking with the different Bigfoot drivers about their style and asked them what techniques they've picked up over the years to give them that slight edge.
It's hard to tell anybody what you're thinking about when you're sitting on a line because you're thinking of so much stuff. You know, a lot of times I try to pull up the line and really make sure I'm really ready to go. And sometimes depending on who I'm racing, you know, I like to psych them out a little bit, you know, take a little time, stall, you know, and because just our name will psych a lot of the guys out. A lot of guys, and they know they're racing Bigfoot, and it's rough on them, so it just makes them real nervous. So if you can kind of play with them a little bit, you know, they'll usually psych up and psych out and mess up. But I sit up on the line, you know, once I'm starting to really concentrate now on is the light. Really trying to play the light real close because it's the light in a lot of the races and these straight courses, the bonsai runs, the light is a big factor. You know, if you can jump the light and play the light real good, you can get a good start. Here lately, the races have all been real close. We're all running within a half a second or within 30/100ths of a second of each other, and you know, a lot of it depends on who can get off the line first. The racing was a new category for me, I guess you could say. I wasn't really used to it, but it was really different. I really enjoy it a lot because it's always something going on. When you're racing, it's not you come out and you do a flag lap and wait till the end of the show to crush cars. You know, now you're, you know, every 20 minutes or 15 minutes you're running a race. You got to be out. You got to be checking your truck over, looking at your truck. You know, consulting with your crew member and seeing how he's watching the track for you, playing it out, and you know, you just kind of sit back and wait a little bit, and you go in, you run, you come back out, check your truck out, go back in and run. It's really keeps you on your toes, keeps you working.
Before the show, you're thinking about the course, how you're going to try it. You watch the other trucks if they're qualifying before you. And you try to figure out what you're going to do. And usually by the time you get you're all suited up and strapped in and stuff, your mind's no longer on anything except for when they start you. And then what goes through your mind from then on, I couldn't really tell you because it goes so fast. Believe it or not, that's the first time I've ever crushed cars with 48. And I felt secure in the truck. I felt more secure in the little truck than I did in the big truck. I don't know why, just because everything was smaller and fit me closer or what, but we figured out how they was jumping the trucks to get them out so far. When we figured it out, it was too late to jump the big truck, or to do it with the big truck, and the only one we had left to do was the 48. And me and George talked, and I said, well, let's try it. And when we did, and it was unreal. It worked, you know. And I felt very comfortable with the run we laid down until I got back, and you know, everybody said, well, you know, we thought you was gone. And I thought everything laid down real well.
The Bigfoot Shuttle has raised more than just a few eyebrows over the years, especially when it goes through the paces like any other monster vehicle. But unlike its larger cousins, the Bigfoot Shuttle is surprisingly stock. Let's take a quick look at why Bob Chandler developed the Bigfoot Shuttle and what type of modifications he made to the vehicle.
The Bigfoot Shuttle started out as we started with the stock Ford brown colors. First thing we had to do was put a tubular frame, a tubular subframe underneath that. That's so we can mount our springs, our transfer case, our power steering box to it. From that point, we took 2.5-ton military axles as opposed to the 5 tons that we used on the big trucks. For this vehicle, it's lighter. We were only going to run a 48-inch tire, so we run a smaller axle. We decided to stay with the 3-liter electronically fuel-injected Ford engine in this vehicle. The only difference we did, we added nitrous oxide to it. There's times when we needed a little bit more horsepower out of the vehicle, and nitrous oxide really does that for us. Yeah, the interior of the Aerostar is stock, basically. The only change we made inside is it has a transfer case shift lever on it. The seats are the same, the dash, everything is the same. It's got a stereo radio, it's got air conditioning, it's got power windows. It's just like a real plush Aerostar. It's really, nothing else is needed. Anybody can jump in this truck and drive it. It's an automatic transmission. It's power steering. So it's just like jumping in an Aerostar, except you're about 2 foot higher. We decided to put rear steering in this truck just so it'd be just like the rest of our trucks. One of the reasons is for training. We use this shuttle for driver training. If we have a driver that needs to get familiar with rear steering, the first thing to do is jump in the Aerostar. It's really like jumping into a stock vehicle. And he can get used to the rear steering before he has to go out in front of a crowd. You want that to be a second nature to you. You don't want to have to think, do I need to steer this? Which way do I have to move the switch to steer it? So the drivers get hours in the Aerostar first before they go out and do a show with one of the bigger trucks, for instance. I've raced against the bigger trucks before and almost won. It's very maneuverable. I guess that's where its advantage is. Being 48-inch tire, it turns sharper than a big truck, so it's hard to beat. Bigfoot Ranger actually started out as a streetable Bigfoot. That was our idea, and my wife was involved in it. That's why it was originally going to be, well, it was originally called Ms. Bigfoot. But as the project started, I had a long talk with Alan Root, who makes these aluminum Ford engines, and we decided to put an aluminum 571 cubic inch BDS supercharged Ford engine in it. It went from a streetable machine to a super hot rod Bigfoot. I guess about 2 years ago, Ford came to us and they wanted us to paint it the same color as the other trucks, and when we did change it to the Bigfoot Blue, we also changed the name to the Bigfoot Ranger. Some of the unique things about the Ranger is it has 4-link suspension. It has air ride as opposed to a regular spring like our other trucks. We had to extend the body 4 inches to fit this big engine in it. We also had to move the firewall back, so the driver's compartment is very small in this vehicle. We run a 5-ton military axle in this vehicle, just like the bigger trucks. They have hardened shafts in them. They have been narrowed. The truck is only 8 foot wide overall, which is one of the narrowest vehicles we have. I think the Aerostar, for instance, is 8'4", and the other trucks are about 11 foot. This vehicle is just like the other vehicles. It has rear steering. As opposed to the Shuttle, this vehicle, this Ranger, is a more of a race vehicle. It has the full cage inside of it. It has all the instruments for high-performance engine. It's got the harness and the seat belts for the driver to be more secure for racing. My drivers seem to really enjoy driving this vehicle, which is, to me, it is very uncomfortable to drive because of it's such a small compartment. But they say it really holds you in as this truck. As you've seen some of these tapes, it bounces around a lot, and they seem more secure in this for some reason.
Well, Bob, besides the competition, Bigfoot shows up in some surprising places like cameo roles in the movies, some television commercials, and Bob, tell us about some of those pleasant experiences.
In 1988, we did another Ford commercial, which was a very exciting thing to do. We also had a role in Roadhouse. And the end of last year, we finished up a part on Police Academy 6.
Now, everything is very well planned. Despite how it may look on the big screen, you guys go through a lot of planning preparation for any type of a stunt. Let's talk about the preparations for the movie Roadhouse.
Well, what we did is they told us they wanted us to drive through a building. It was a dealership, and to set up 4 brand new cars in this. So what I did is put it in a computer with a CAD program, and everything was to scale, and I could watch the truck going through the building. We told them we needed this much ceiling height, so we didn't hit the ceiling with the truck. We needed them spaced, and I had it laid out on a computer printout, and they stuck it up on the wall, and that's the way they laid everything out for the show, and it went over good.
Obviously, those of us watching in the theater would have no idea how much preparation and paperwork would go into such a stunt.
There was a lot. I probably spent 2 weeks in the computer every night working on this. It came out excellent, though. They had 7 cameras going for this one shoot, and just luckily it went over right. It had only 1 building and 4 cars, so there was no second take on this.
Well, now, Jim drove that stunt, but you've done some stunt driving on your own. Let's talk about forging the river.
We did a part with, I was playing Ben Gazzar, and I had a big old cigar in my mouth, which I hated, and we had to go across a river in Northern California for this one scene, and we kept trying a little deeper place, and I hit a hole. The truck almost disappeared. It went down into water, and tires were completely under. The old trucks would float. My Bigfoot 1, 2, and 3 would float, but the newer trucks, they wouldn't handle that. And it just barely grabbed enough to come out of the hole, and it was a neat scene.
Did you tell the producer this is going to cost you more money?
No, I said, that's it. I'm done. That's as far as we can go in the water.
We all know what a tank is. Those lumbering, armor-plated vehicles that have always represented power, mobility, and strength. And until recently, they've always served duty in the armed forces. Now, they're serving different masters. Monster Tanks, the newest vehicle in a motorsport that is always looking for a new and surprising way to thrill the audience. And Bob Chandler, I have to say I'm a bit surprised, knowing that you never liked tanks. When my one son said, "Daddy has a tank," I said, "No, you're crazy. That may be a blue tank, but it's not a Bigfoot family member." But I was wrong.
No, I really don't like the vehicles. I like pickup trucks, I always have. But this was an exception. I saw this vehicle. It was put together at one time by somebody else, and I fell in love with it. It was neat.
Now, you're quick to say that this was not a tank. This was a personnel carrier.
It's an M84 personnel carrier. I think the vintage is a 1959, but it is not a tank.
And it's powered now by?
By 2 Fords. It was powered by 2 Chevrolet engines. But my way of getting around this is it is not a tank, it is a personnel carrier.
There have been a number of modifications to this because originally this unit was, what, about 12 feet wide?
It's 12 feet wide and it weighed 42,000 pounds. And now it's narrowed down to 8'2", and it's probably a little under 24,000 pounds, 12 tons. We have 2 460 cubic inch Ford engines in this. Each one has a supercharger on it. Each one has 2 carburetors. Each of the motors go into a C6 transmission with a TCI race converter in it. Now the 2 transmissions go into a 90-degree gearbox, and that in turn goes into one rear end on the back of this FASTRAX. This, being an Army personnel carrier, has suspension on it. It's what they call torsion bar suspension. And if you've seen it ever at a show, you can see that this vehicle can jump a car and drive away, and it's actually smooth as my big trucks are smoother. When I bought this vehicle from Lauren Pryor, he's out of Colorado. He's the one that initially built the vehicle. It worked fairly well, but I've had some problems. When I wanted to race this thing and go faster, it had a steering wheel, and it was very hard to control. So we ended up going back to the lever controls. The levers work much better because you can feel the track with it. You can feel the turns much better. You can make a much smoother turn at a faster speed.
Now, I happen to know that you have pretty well curtailed your driving, but you like to drive this. You have fun with this.
I tell you what, it is a ball. It's got a nice suspension on it. It's easier riding than any of my big trucks, and I do enjoy it.
Bob, the Bigfoot truck has always been at the top of the heap, but it didn't take long for the FASTRAX tank to ascend to the top. On one particular night that I'm thinking of, the tank won its division, Bigfoot 7 won its division, and the two of you went off head-to-head.
That was a neat night. There was good competition there. Jim Kramer was driving a truck, I was driving a track vehicle, and to end up with two of my own vehicles racing for the top prize or the top award for that night, that was a very exciting run. I had a lot of different thoughts about it. I want the truck to win, but just to both have this vehicle after such a short time, you know, racing one of the other trucks, it was neat. It was a neat event.
Well, Bob, as I said in the beginning, monsters are real, and we have no idea where monster truck competition is headed, but I think it's safe to say, wherever that might be, that they and the fans will let nothing get in the way.
You're right, Gary. And we're not going to let anything get in the way of you driving Bigfoot either, so here's your helmet.
All right, thank you. I've been looking forward to this.
And, Gary, and here's your Bigfoot to drive.